All right. Hi, and welcome to using CloudXR to deliver high-performance, scalable customer retail experiences. So I'm Chris O'Connor, Executive Director at Zerolite, and I'm going to guide you through our experience and the solutions we've created for streaming virtual reality content from AWS. So the main question we're asking here is, why is it time to consider streaming XR experiences for automotive retail? Well, there's four key pieces in this puzzle, and they've all now come together. So firstly, customers want immersive digital experiences. Spatial computing is key to digitalization of the automotive industry. VR hardware is developed and mature enough to be used by consumers, and Zerolite and AWS have proven this solution works. So throughout this presentation, we'll continue to highlight these key factors. So 66% of consumers want to experience the car in the dealership, which shows there is still a desire for customers to visit retail locations. 30% of customers would be attracted in-store with immersive digital experiences. And we see 40% higher conversion rates for products that have been 3D visualized. This tells us that the interest is there from the automotive customers for immersive experiences. So let's look at the technology that's needed to deliver this, starting with the power of spatial computing, then the drawbacks of traditional VR, and finally, what it takes to make a CloudXR experience. And let's start with a quick introduction to Zerolite and the AWS partnership. At Zerolite, we provide cloud-based visualization solutions for the automotive industry and beyond. We have three main products: Palette SDK, which is used to build configurators for web and retail across a whole range of devices, from media on demand to 3D streaming and XR. Spotlight Suite is a cloud-based toolset for creating advertising and marketing media via a user-friendly UI or a powerful on-demand API. And then OmniStream is the accumulation of 8 years of experience streaming from the cloud. This product enables any third party to use our technology to stream any application from the cloud. So we'll look at the two products today, CloudXR and Palette SDK, where Zerolite will develop the full solution for you, and CloudXR via OmniStream, where we will help scale your VR experience. So we have a long, successful partnership with AWS. Our solutions are developed to run in the Amazon cloud, with our latest partnership status being automotive software competency. So what is spatial computing? Spatial computing merges real-world inputs such as behavior, location, and time with simulation of 3D space, blending the physical world with the fully virtual. Spatial computing enhances a whole range of workflows, including collaboration, simulation, and training. Today, we are going to focus on how it can enhance sales and marketing solutions. So let's take a look at how virtual reality can be used as an automotive sales tool. At Zerolite, we have lots of experience in developing VR experiences, especially for automotive retail, starting with Audi in 2016, deployed to over 600 locations worldwide, to Lucid, where the VR was available in locations across the US and Europe. Most recently, we have Aston Martin, who helped take retail VR technology to the next level, which we'll take a deeper look into later in this presentation. So for automotive retail VR solutions, we always see the same requirements. The highest possible visual quality, the car needs to look real. Solutions that are simple to scale are essential. Fully configurable digital twins. This tool is for the user to see their exact configuration. The solution must be usable by everyone. No VR knowledge needed. and the VR experience is a sales tool. And finally, the solution needs to be secure and resilient, especially with OEM's digital twin data. So rather than highlighting the success and challenges of VR from my point of view, I've asked some old friends that led these VR solutions to provide a short quote. So starting with Marcus, who led the Audi retail VR experience. He highlights the amazing achievement at Audi with the scale and quality of this solution, but also the challenge of maintaining and supporting this cutting-edge hardware across the globe. We used 2 times K6000 GPUs in SLI. This enabled the quality level you see in this video, but this required huge IT support and investment. Next, we have Florian at BMW, highlights how amazing the immersive experience was when combined with a physical chair. But users didn't want to be holding onto controllers, they wanted to be naturally interacting with the digital twin. Hand tracking would have been great, but at the time we had to settle for a simple controller intersections. At Cadillac, Skip drove the development of the Cadillac VR solution, which showed the complete range of Cadillac SUVs in VR. He explains that while this was cutting-edge sales tool with beautiful visuals, there were many challenges in deploying to dealerships, including the space required for the hardware at the time and the learning curve required to take advantage of this sales experience. And finally, Thomas, who pioneered much of the Lucid Motors sales journey, explains how amazing and immersive the VR experience was, with multi-headset, shared sessions, and fully configurable digital twins. But while physical hardware shortages provided challenges, the biggest issue facing VR at the time was the dreaded cable and the risk of customers becoming entangled. So many of the technical blockers described by those VR retail pioneers have now gradually been removed over the last 8 years. We no longer need dedicated space, and best of all, the cables have disappeared. No more tripping or getting customers tangled. All the tracking is now built into the headset. Headsets have become much lighter and easier to wear. Hand tracking removes the need for controllers. And the high-end workstation has moved into the cloud. The same visual fidelity we could achieve with all the hardware you saw in the first image can now be achieved with a simple setup. So the pieces of the puzzle are now coming together. Let's take a deeper look into what actually makes a CloudXR experience. So at the core, we have NVIDIA CloudXR. It is the protocol that streams extended reality content from a cloud provider like AWS to off-the-shelf customer-grade headsets like the Meta Quest or the Vive XR. This technology isn't as new as it seems. AWS and NVIDIA have been working for years with network providers and headset developers to create a stable and reliable software stack. And why is this technology important? Because it enables us to take the complexity of VR setups away from the users and into the cloud. We've built a solution on AWS to provide an intuitive experience for customers, an easy to use and maintain solution for the dealers, and a product that is efficient for the OEMs to scale. So this is what a CloudXR experience in retail can look like. In this VW showcase, the customer interacts with a 4K touchscreen. This is a pixel stream configurator to a web browser. It's all just running in the cloud and streamed direct to that web browser. Once they have configured their vehicle, they can pick up the headset and see the exact same vehicle being streamed in stereo to the headset itself. This allows the customer to explore their configuration spatially and get a closer look at the features and the details they have chosen. And at the front end, simplicity of the hardware is key. We've got a standalone VR headset, such as the Meta Quest, an iPad. This could easily be any device with a web browser to control the experience, and at least 50 megabits per second Wi-Fi internet connection. And finally, you can have an optional display to cast the experience to. And then there's the back end that powers the solution. This is where the complexity lives. It is fully managed by Zerolite, removing the requirement for localized IT and hardware support. And there are three main parts: the headset app, the experience controller, and the VR experience running in the cloud. So we have a Unity app that provides a user-friendly start to the experience that runs on the headset. We have the MQTT service, manages communications and state between the three applications. The web apps manage the connection to the cloud in the same way as if we were streaming to a browser. And finally, the real-time experience runs dynamically scaled on AWS G5 instances. So let's take a look at some of the AWS services that this solution builds upon. Obviously, the key is the EC2, G4DN, and G5 accelerated graphics instances where the actual 3D application runs on. We also have S3, which is essential to store the large digital twins and the generated data, media. And this is obviously featuring industry-leading scalability, availability, and security for all those digital twin contents. We also use Amazon EKS. This automatically manages the availability and scalability of the Kubernetes control plane nodes, responsible for scheduling containers, managing application availability, storing cluster data, and other key tasks to manage these instances. But of course, no technology ever comes without its share of challenges. So let's delve a little deeper into some of these. So the data center locations, AWS region data centers with G5 availability cover all our main areas of deployment locations. This helps us keep latency to a minimum. So cost is always a big consideration when we talk about streaming content. This needs to be weighed against the cost of the hardware, the IT support, the infrastructure required, and the cost to develop the experience. It's important to find the right instance scaling solution for you and for your application. Is it reservation-based schedule? So when a user comes into a retail location, do we bring up the instances then? Or is it scheduled for particular times in the day across different regions? And all this, along with saving plans, can create a very cost-effective solution compared to purchasing hardware to be ran on site. So yeah, with CloudXR, we always say it's much simpler than any other high-quality VR solution because there's a single point of failure, and that single point is the internet connection. We find that on home connections, interference is very rare. You usually get a very strong stream and get a great experience. At dealerships, stable and fast connections are common and often just require a slight change to the router bandwidth management to avoid other users draining the bandwidth. But events can be quite challenging, especially on hotel Wi-Fi, but there's always a fallback. A subset of these cloud systems can also be run locally. It's not ideal for scale, but it works great for events. So we also have a built-in connection monitor in all the web pages that the user interfaces with. This is super useful because it means the host can monitor the stability of the connection. The data is synced from the headset session using built-in CloudXR stats, and it's shared to our MQTT service, which then delivers the data to the host display. It's great to have that reassurance that the customer is getting the best stream possible and performance isn't dropping. So as well, all session login and data collection is very important. With all Zerolite products, data is key to understanding usage levels and that return on investment. This data can also be helped when issue tracking and support is required. This is essential when we look at worldwide deployments, as the data can provide answers without the need to be synced across those time zones. So now let's take a look at a real-world use case of CloudXR in automotive retail. So what's this project about? Well, it's better said by the project visionary from Aston Martin, Carly Hardacre. She said, designed exclusively for Aston Martin customers worldwide, the Valhalla VR experience offers an immersive and interactive showcase of Valhalla's sensational design. By leveraging virtual reality technology, we provided customers with an exclusive experience, offering a spatial exploration of both the exterior and interior design elements within a tailored virtual environment. Through the guided CloudXR integration, users were treated to intricately detailed visuals, seamlessly delivered without the constraints of cables or controllers, ensuring a truly immersive experience. And let's run over the experience. The customer places on the headset, starting in a comfortable mixed reality scene, where they adjust the headset to get the clearest possible visuals. On the host device, they load up a web page, select a unique code pushed from the headset to sync the two devices. The magic of this solution is it can be one host to many customers, and it can even be controlled from opposite ends of the world. In a few seconds, the headset connects to an instance in the closest data center, then starts streaming the VR content. The host can guide the user around the car by teleporting them, triggering animations, switching configurations, and transforming the environment. The customer still has full freedom to walk around and inspect the details of the car, but they don't have to worry about navigating from one side of the car to the other. This is where the sales associate can trigger an action on the tablet to teleport and guide the customer around. This is great for sales, as you can ensure that the customer sees all the key features you want them to see. So that deployment shows us a great example of what can be done with this technology, but that's not the end. We have a little time to talk about where this technology is going. So as always, AI is a key accelerator of extended reality and spatial computing. We break it down to three main areas where we focus on creating AI solutions: data processing and automated quality assurance of digital twins. We work with very complex digital twins with millions of unique configurations. It's important that we can automate and detect any issues early on in the pipeline. Content creation is where we see the most interest with Gen AI, from backgrounds and lighting to creation of 3D assets. This technology helps create fuller and more immersive virtual worlds, which enhances the immersive experience. And finally, we've talked a lot about how the sales associate guides the customer around the VR experience. We see the future is going to be AI guided you through this personalized sales experience. Not only the content will be personalized for you, but also the sales journey will be personalized for you, the particular customer in the experience. So, and perhaps even more exciting is the future of these XR experiences at home. With Meta Quest 3 and Apple Vision Pro expanding the use of VR at home, there is an expectation for brands to have spatial experiences. A VR sales session length is relatively short. You don't want potential customers of high value items having to wait for high quality assets to be downloaded, not to mention security concerns with these digital twin assets being on the user's headsets. With the CloudXR solution, a customer can jump from configuring the car in a browser, on a tablet or a desktop, to an immersive experience in their own headset. This additional spatial understanding of the high value product they are about to buy will become an essential part of the online sales journey. So we've sadly come to the end of this presentation, but hopefully you're seeing how the pieces of the puzzle are all in place and the solutions are ready to deploy. I look forward to hearing from anyone that wants to find out more about our solution and how we can deploy large-scale, high-quality VR sales tools as a key touch point along the automotive sales journey. And thank you for listening. Please connect online, and if anyone has any questions now, I'm happy to go ahead and answer them.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's really amazing to see this type of cutting edge tech. I see a question in the Q&A here from Ben. He says, thanks, Chris. What's the latency like in the headset when streaming from AWS?
So yeah, it's quite interesting how the technology works, because you would think, like, we spent many years with cables connected to high-end workstations trying to get latency down to below 20 milliseconds. And then you're moving all that compute into the cloud many miles away, and you often get between 50 and 100 millisecond latency, which you would think created a really bad experience. But because when this data arrives in the headset, it knows the pose at which it was generated on the virtualized instance, it can reproject that data for the current position of the headset. And this means perceived latency is down to sub 10 milliseconds from the rendered content to what you see in your eyes. So there's no, especially for quite passive experiences like exploring and looking around a vehicle or a product like this, there's no real perceived latency difference between running it from a local machine to running it up in an AWS data center.
Thanks, Chris. Any other questions from the audience? Feel free to use the raise hand feature or drop a question in the Q&A. I had one other question for you, Chris. Sounds like the solution is fully managed through by Zerolite. Can customers deploy the solution in their own VPC or AWS account?
Yeah, it's definitely possible to do that, and the underlying protocol that NVIDIA developed, CloudXR, has been deployed in by customers and by users all over the world. Often the complexity is how you have to build the additional apps to build an experience that is easy to use, easy to deploy, and that's the layer that we've built on top to make it as easy as possible to deploy your application, to get that connected to a headset and interact with that in a friendly way that doesn't have any real technological barriers.
Great. Thank you.